So, for those of you who follow my style of trading, you guys know that I like to use pivot points, whether they're weekly pivot points or monthly pivot points, as an area of support and resistance where gets instantly attracted to. And for those of you who are new, I've got videos on pivot points which are linked to down below, but essentially around 75 to 80% of the time, pivots price normally hits a particular pivot, whether it's weekly or monthly or a daily pivot on the time frame it was created. So what I'm showing on the screen now is an Apple 4 hour chart, and I've got the monthly pivots up. And going back to the concept of that pivots normally get hit in the month that they were created, you can see here that in July's pivot, we hit the pivot. In June's pivot, it was hit. In May's pivot, in April's pivot. So you can see not only was it hit, but you can clearly see that this was used as support. This was used as support. This kind of probably was used as a bit of resistance, kind of blew through. But and then we've got some support over here. Not only does it normally get hit on the week it was on the month it was created, but we also utilize it as areas of support and resistance. So what I'm seeing now, and hopefully you guys have kind of seen it on the screen, if we look at August's pivot, we can see now that we're only a few trading days away from August being complete. And we are at the moment, what's that? What's the pivot? Pivot's at about 153. We're at 167. What's that? 8-9% ish, roughly. We're around 8-9% away from the August monthly pivot. And I really don't think we're going to hit August's monthly pivot for Apple. And the last time we had an August month or a monthly pivot miss was 10 months ago, back in November, where it just missed it. Lows of 147.48 and a pivot of 146.84. So, less than 50 cents away from its pivot. So again, you could argue that is, kind of support, but it was technically a missed pivot. And it took 6 months for price to get to that level for that monthly pivot area to be hit again. But I think in October we will see, or September, sorry, we will see price retrace back to around the 150 mark. And the difference between where we were before to kind of where we are now is, firstly, back then 10 months ago, price was near that pivot level. Like, it wasn't a massive, like, 8% or kind of where we are today. And we could retrace, a bit more to that kind of level. So that's the first point of where this pivot level sticks out like a sore thumb. So that's is the gap there. The second, we have been overbought on the RSI now for a while now, and we're expecting a pullback, which we did get, and this very aggressive nature of this downward movement of the RSI, and we could potentially continue that way. So that again is another thing from a technical standpoint where I see that Apple could continue to drop. The next point is, if I look on the weekly pivots and I just take off the weekly pivots there, we have a missed, and Apple is a perfect example again of support and resistance. And if you guys aren't using pivot points, you should. Support, support, support. Okay, miss, but support. And this was a missed pivot last week, and again we have hit that missed pivot straight away on the Monday this week. We currently have a missed pivot here. We could see a retracement and a move back down. We could see a missed pivot over here. But again, my point here is we've got used as support, but we do have remove drawings from here and do that again. We have this missed pivot line at around the 159, 160 mark, which, or it's the 159 mark, which I believe will get hit over the coming weeks. Whether we go straight down, we go up and straight down, but I do think we'll get to 160. We might get to 160 before the week's out, but here again it gives us another confirmation. Here we've got this lonely, potentially missed monthly pivot with a missed weekly pivot just above it. So this will be the first area here to be looking at. Now, if you are got calls on Apple, or you got or you're long Apple in any way whatsoever, I would look at your position and consider what's going on. If you're a long-term investor, all that kind of good stuff, you're holding for the long haul, I wouldn't worry about it. But if you're looking to trade options, and a lot of people trade monthly options, and you don't want to be assigned, I'll be looking, below below the 153 area, as potential as potential areas, because you will get support in this area, as you've seen a lot of times consolidation or support at those particular areas. And then if we look at the macro landscape here with recession fears, housing fears, the macro state of the environment, high inflation, is not in the best place at the moment. And Apple's earnings were okay. They weren't knocking it out of the park. With all those factors added together, I'm potentially seeing September going back down to here and hitting this pivot. So, if you buy put options, hedging away a stock to go down, Apple might be a contender. I don't normally buy put options, even though I did it for Bed Bath and Beyond, but that was a bit of an extreme case. But I'm looking to purchase Apple, but Apple for me, fair value is sitting, around the $100 mark. So I don't really look to get into Apple, but I do sometimes sell Apple puts, monthly puts, just to generate $50, $60, way out the money. In this example, I'll probably put one here at the 144. I think that would be fairly safe for a week, a month long expiration. So I just wanted to call that out because I've been looking at Apple for a while now, looking at this run and looking as we started to see this pullback happen. I can't see this pivot being hit, and interestingly enough, that it's been 10 months for a pivot not to be hit, and it did take 6 months for price to get to that pivot level. So we could see it continue another move up and another potential miss pivot for another 6 months. But I think the macro setting and the technical setting, so fundamental and technical, were aligning more to the upside on Apple during that time, as opposed to where we are today. The pivot is completely different landscape to where we were back 10 months ago. So I just want to share that with you and my kind of thought process on how I kind of manage these types of positions. And this is what I kind of look for. So make sure you like and subscribe if you want more technical analysis videos on particular stocks. If you want me to look at a particular stock, comment down below and I'll do a video on that. Hope you've enjoyed this. Some more information around pivots on the screen, and I shall see you guys in the next video.